receivers of revenue under the guidance of Finance and Economic Planning docket works hard to meet the revenue targets despite the prevailing economic challenges. The third recommendation, Mr. Speaker, is that unspent balances must be declared by the county treasury and the departmental county executive committee members on time for purposes of budgeting and continuity of programs. The fourth recommendation, Mr. Speaker, is that each accounting officer initiates procurement procedures as early as possible to facilitate the implementation of development projects in the county. The county treasury shall adhere to provisions of legislations on the public procurement and asset disposal. The fifth recommendation, Mr. Speaker, is that each county chief officer adheres to the provisions of Section 149 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012 to the letter, and that each departmental CC adhere to Section 107 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012. The sixth recommendation, Mr. Speaker, is that receivers of revenue led by the head of county treasury have unexploited legal options to improve our own source revenue. The seventh, Mr. Speaker, is the delay in the declaration of the unspent balances for the financial year 2023-2024 by the county treasurer and the departmental county executive committee members for consideration by the county assembly will be addressed in the subsequent supplementary budgets. The eighth, Mr. Speaker, is the county assembly and the county executive should adhere to the approved budgets to avoid instances of over expenditures. And number 9, Mr. Speaker, is all county entities should adopt end-to-end e-procurement as a standard practice to safeguard against errors of omissions or commissions which have far-reaching financial implications. And the last one, Mr. Speaker, is that the line budget is improved. The line budget is approved together with the program-based budget for the financial year 2024-2025. Mr. Speaker, as I acknowledge, the committee wishes to thank the officers of the Speaker and the Clerk of the County Assembly for the necessary support extended to it in the execution of its mandate. The budget-making process will have been incomplete without involvement of key stakeholders, namely the County Executive Committee members, led by the County Executive Committee member in charge of Finance and Economic Planning, members of the public, whom the committee is grateful for their invaluable input. Mr. Speaker, it's now my place and duty on behalf of the Budget and Appropriation Committee, pursuant to Standing Order 2216, to table the report of the Kericho County budget estimates for the fiscal year 2024-2025 for considerations by this Honorable House. And I will request, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Kiprotich Ragon to second. Thank you.
All right, thank you, the Honorable Chairman Budget. The Honorable Kiprotich Ragon. You second.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion that has been tabled by the Chairman, Budget and Appropriation Committee. That is the report on the Kericho County budget estimates for financial year 2024-2025. Mr. Speaker, even as I second, I must thank the committee members and the staff, the Secretariat, for the job that they did. It's not been easy, Mr. Speaker, putting together a number of issues, and in consideration with the county fiscal strategic paper, which was also passed by this House. Mr. Speaker, this budget is a bit enhanced because we received an additional allocation from the national government, and we have a number of donor funds that also came in. So, Mr. Speaker, we have a number of programs to be rolled out immediately this budget is ready. Mr. Speaker, I'm really happy because this committee, initially, the executive had not factored in even the confirmation of nurses and all the other health workers. Mr. Speaker, it took the intervention of this committee to ensure that these people are confirmed, because a number of them have been petitioning even this House for them to be considered. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy because we have a number of facilities that are ready to be commissioned, but they cannot be commissioned because of lack of staff. So again, this committee saw it fit to include in this budget the additional recruitment of health workers that will be posted to these facilities. Mr. Speaker, again, in education, which I'm really happy, we are going to have another 210 new ECD teachers. So, Mr. Speaker, initially, from the presentation by the CECs, they had not factored in this, but the committee saw it fit because we are representing the people who send us here, Mr. Speaker. And I'm happy in this budget, we added the 30 vocational training centers instructors on contract, which will now enable a number of youth from this county who've been sent to the various VTCs to be able to get the much needed skills for them to carry on with their lives. Mr. Speaker, let me go straight away to observations. Mr. Speaker, when we were handling this budget, again, I must say we had to compare with the county fiscal strategic paper that was passed. And initially, Mr. Speaker, there were lots of deviations, others going even up to 100%, which is illegal and it is against the law. So we consider that. What we realized, Mr. Speaker, is public participation ought to be done at the location level, because for a long time, you can imagine an entire sub-county like Kipkelion West doing public participation in Kipkelion. So somebody from Kunyak is unable to give views because of the distance in where these public participations are done. One of the things that we are considering as a house, even if it means amending the laws that govern this, we must ensure for total public participation, these things are done at minimum location level, or at worst at the ward level. So maybe in future, Mr. Speaker, this should be implemented. And number two, I'm happy, Mr. Speaker, we had a number of people who petitioned this house, and it means the public is increasingly becoming aware of what is happening. Case in point, Mr. Speaker, is the finance bill that is currently bringing issues in the country. It means people in this country are increasingly playing key role in budget making process. They're trying to have their input in these documents. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm happy because in this county, we've been getting a number of people giving in their inputs, and I'm happy this budget has included their views. Case in point is the gender-based rescue center, which we factored in for the first time, and hopefully the executive will implement this. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, is the county executive in charge of finance, Mr. Speaker, ought to ensure immediately this budget is approved and the vote book is out, the various departments ought to prepare the procurement process for all the works to be rolled out. Very often, Mr. Speaker, we pass this budget, the vote book is out, but works cannot start simply because they are unable to initiate. Remember, Mr. Speaker, in this budget, we do not have the unspent balances because they were unable to give us. And it means they are going to bring in midway for the supplementary one to be factored in, so that we factor in the issue of unspent balances. On the recommendations, Mr. Speaker, I'll not take much, but I must appreciate that as a committee, we realized that this county government has not even used legal avenues to ensure revenue is collected. Case in point is the waiver. We have people who've not been able to pay land rates because of penalties going way above the amount they normally pay. If the county executive submitted to this house for approval the waivers, we would be collecting the land rates. That means we would be getting enough on-source revenues. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, is I want to urge these members that even as we pass this budget, let us play the critical role of oversight, because a number of committees have submitted before the House the malpractices perpetuated by the executive. That is misuse of public funds. Mr. Speaker, it will be up to this House. We have that responsibility to protect and to defend that role, so that we ensure most of these monies go to the, we realize the value for money. As I end, Mr. Speaker,
yes,
I must thank the members, and let us work together so that in future we will be able to tell the public what we did. With this, Mr. Speaker, I second the motion. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, the Honorable Kiprotich Ragon. Honorable members, I now propose the question, which is that this House approves the report of the Budget and Appropriation Committee on the Kericho County budget line and program-based estimates for the financial year 2024-2025. Honorable members, before I open the floor, just to remind you that of our hours in terms of time, since there was no motion to extend our sitting from 12:30 onwards, and therefore I'll use standing order number 1 to give you extra 10 to 15 minutes, and I'll request that we be brief wherever I give a minute or so to contribute. Please, I request in that order. So I'll give to the Honorable Cheriat Bet, Honorable Eric B., Honorable Vincent Korir, Honorable Matthew, in that order. Let us use 2 minutes, please, each. The Honorable Cheriat Bet, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, and of course, by extension, the people of Ainamoi, whom I represent. Mr. Speaker, I will stick by the 3 minutes, Mr. Speaker. It is now 12:30, so by 12:33, I can assure you that I will leave the body. Mr. Speaker, let me take this opportunity.
But I gave you 2 minutes, so you have 2 minutes. So 12:33.
Thank you, Chair. I abide by that order, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, from the onset, let me thank, of course, the Chair, our able Chair, the Honorable Albert Kipkoech, and of course our Vice Chair, the Honorable Kiprotich Ragon, and the members of this Budget Committee, Mr. Speaker. And I will not want to forget the Secretariat, because they banned the midnight oil, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we've been dealing with this budget for the last 3 weeks, Mr. Speaker. Climax of which, Mr. Speaker, was we didn't even go to church on Sunday because we wanted these documents, Mr. Speaker, to be ready. Mr. Speaker, as I always say, Mr. Speaker, that we've always been doing budgets in this county, Mr. Speaker. I have the advantage, Mr. Speaker, because I think this is the 12th budget that we are approving in this county assembly, Mr. Speaker. And what we only need to do, Mr. Speaker, there is no single budget that we've passed that is bad, Mr. Speaker. All the budgets that has gone through the hands of this honorable House, Mr. Speaker, and the honorable members, Mr. Speaker, is always a good budget, Mr. Speaker. I may not want to go to details of what is in this budget, Mr. Speaker, but I can assure the members of the public, and of course the members of Ainamoi Ward, Mr. Speaker, that top of the agenda, Mr. Speaker, are the priority areas that they did prioritize when we went for public participation, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I only wish that the executive, Mr. Speaker, will execute this budget the way it is, Mr. Speaker. We've always had challenges, Mr. Speaker, especially in some of the departments, that they are not executing the budgets of their department, and that is why, Mr. Speaker, sometimes we have bending bills emanating from various things, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, maybe to highlight on education, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the committee because 210 ECD teachers, Mr. Speaker, is going to be employed under this budget, Mr. Speaker. Number two, Mr. Speaker, for the first time in history, Mr. Speaker, say for the Honorable Chingili, the member for Kipkelia, Mr. Speaker, we've already, we are employing in this budget 30 instructors for our TVET, Mr. Speaker. And that is a plus. We've never employed any apart from the salaries that we paid to Honorable Chingili when he was an instructor for ECD, Mr. Speaker. So that, Mr. Speaker, is going to assist our teachers to have teachers, Mr. Speaker. And that is a plus. I want to thank the Honorable members.
As you summarize.
Mr. Speaker, finally, Mr. Speaker, I only want to urge the chairs of various sectoral committees. Top of the agenda, Mr. Speaker, is the chair for trade. We've been allocating money to this department, Mr. Speaker, but it's unfortunate because most of what had allocated in trade department, Mr. Speaker, nothing has taken place, Mr. Speaker. So I want to put the chairman on trade, Mr. Speaker, that make sure that the money that I have allocated for my market stalls in Ainamoi, 1.5, Mr. Speaker, needs to be executed with immediate effects. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I support the budget proposal, Mr. Speaker.
All right, thank you so much, the Honorable Cheriot. But the Honorable Eric B. and the Honorable Cheriot, but you said you are putting on notice the chairman trade. Should it be the chairman trade or the executive? Maybe the chairman. I'll give an opportunity to the chairman trade. Proceed, the Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity just to comment on the budget and appropriation for the year 2024-2025. Mr. Speaker, before then, you've guided us to use 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank the committee, headed by the EPO Chair, who is the ranking member in this House, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Halpert, and the committee, Mr. Speaker, and also your office for the good work and they did for this House. Mr. Speaker, this is a historic budget. We've seen, Mr. Speaker, it's now 9.2 billion, which has increased from the last budget for the last year, Mr. Speaker, which was 8.6. Mr. Speaker, this is an historic budget. I think, Mr. Speaker, we are doing well as a county, and we must appreciate, Mr. Speaker, for the good work. Mr. Speaker, I'll begin with the issue of revenue, unspent declaration of unspent money, Mr. Speaker. I think, Mr. Speaker, this has been an element in the House, Mr. Speaker, whereby when the department has not declared the unspent money, Mr. Speaker, meaning when we go to the supplementary, we shall not be able to account for what was not spent, Mr. Speaker, because they are going to give us a lot of a problem when it comes to supplementary one, Mr. Speaker. So I want to reiterate that, Mr. Speaker, we actually need and spend money per the recommendation of the committee, so that for us to move forward, so that when it comes to supplementary, we shall not be able to be given figures which are not realistic, Mr. Speaker. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I want to touch on the allocations, which has been actually allocated to the Department of Health, Mr. Speaker. For record, Mr. Speaker, we shall be employing, we shall be confirming 2018 staff, Mr. Speaker, who has been on contract. And I want to request the executive, Mr. Speaker, when they receive this budget, they should implement immediately by confirming, so that we shall not be having issues with our staffs who are on contract, Mr. Speaker. Every other time, they have been going around the county demonstrating and picketing, Mr. Speaker, because has not been given justice. So, Mr. Speaker, the county, the committee has actually allocated 80 million for the confirmation, Mr. Speaker. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, they have been allocated also 50 million, Mr. Speaker, for the recruitment of the contractual also staff, Mr. Speaker, who are non-medic and medic, Mr. Speaker, which is going to be going to our dispensary, Mr. Speaker, within our county. There are dispensaries that are now who are running without the staff, Mr. Speaker. So I want to believe this 50 million will be enough. And Mr. Speaker, the issue of finance who has been writing to the service board by telling them there is no money, Mr. Speaker, it is evidence by this budget today, Mr. Speaker. They should know discussion about it. They must employ and they must recruit them and distribute them among our ward, Mr. Speaker. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I will second my colleague by touching on the issue of education, Mr. Speaker, whereby you have given out instructors, Mr. Speaker, who are going to work on our TVC. Mr. Speaker, our Polytechnic has been working with a few staffs for the last 5 years, Mr. Speaker. By passing this budget today, they shall be able to recruit, and our people who are studying in our facilities, Mr. Speaker, they shall be able to get services well, and the staff also shall go to get a good amount of money. Mr. Speaker, I support the report. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Vincent Korir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank Waibo Chairman with the committee who sat to look at this budget as representing the people, also doing the oversight. Mr. Speaker, I will not take a lot of time, but go straight to the point. In my opinion and my proposal, Mr. Speaker, is we look at public participation. I would like to also urge the executive that maybe going forward, public participation should be done at the ward level. This is for people to be able to participate and also give opinions in good numbers, and also to reflect what the county overall proposes in the preparation of the budget. Mr. Speaker, sir, following the plan from CIDP and ADP, this budget should be guided very well in terms of spreading of development across the county. Mr. Speaker, a budget should be able to reflect fairness and also equity in distribution of resources, so that every part of the county feel developed and considered. Again, Mr. Speaker, when developing maybe SI projects in future, I propose, Mr. Speaker, that proper public participation and also definition of SI, so that we can have guidelines and proper development of SI projects. So that, because sometimes, Mr. Speaker, you see allocation of SI projects to us as oversight might look unfair at some point, because resources should be allocated fairly and also as per priority across the county. Again, the issue of wage bill, I do propose maybe again that the HR policy and audit for all the workers in the county should also be looked at, so that we'll be able to determine how many employees we have. Because last time when we were doing the budget, there was the issue of us confirming the employing the ECD teachers and also confirming the health workers, which was never realized. It's because of wage bill. If audit is done, maybe by the public service board, it should give us a picture of how many staff we have and the legitimate staff that we have also within the county. Again, I would like to propose that maybe the executive should also work hard to ensure that programs that have been scheduled for implementation should be done on a timely basis. Again, the issue of revenue. I propose in the next budget maybe, or in the near future, that they consider also employing more revenue staff. Also, again, there are revenue losses. Because for us to get more projects being done within the counties, because is when you have enough revenue, or when you realize the revenue targets. Again, Mr. Speaker, sir, in terms of development of the budgets from across the county, the departments should actually look at projects properly, so that even when you distribute like healthcare, I was looking at the healthcare, some of the wards were not considered, while we have projects that are supposed to be even done and even implemented as per the request from the people. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to applaud the work that was done by the committee and also support from your office. Mr. Speaker, I support. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Honorable Matthew Korir, and then Honorable Anita. In that order. 2 minutes, let us save time by not sharing away the kind compliments to the chairman budget, office of the speaker. Let us stick to the matter in what is in the budget, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity also so that I can support this year, next year budget, Mr. Speaker, as been tabled by the chairman budget. Mr. Speaker, this is the budget that addresses the needs of the locals and the needs of the people of this county, Mr. Speaker. Even if you can see, Mr. Speaker, in public participation, a number of organizations were able even to petition this county assembly to consider issues that are affecting the residents of this county, Mr. Speaker. This is the budget also, Mr. Speaker, that address the needs of the ECDs that we have been building in this county, Mr. Speaker, considering that we are going to recruit or to employ 210 on contract, Mr. Speaker. This applies to the Education Department, where I sit as a Vice Chair, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we were able even to address the issue of the revenue system, Mr. Speaker, during our sitting as the Budget Committee, whereby this year we hope that everything will go well and we'll be having the revenue system in this county so that we'll be able even to raise our revenue or our own source revenue, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, also in addition of having the 30 instructors in our VTCs, Mr. Speaker, remember last financial year that is ending this year, 30th June, Mr. Speaker, we were able to budget for 1 million and we were able to be supported by KCB to facilitate the young people to join this VTC, Mr. Speaker. But the challenge that we had is that we had no instructors in this institution, Mr. Speaker. But in this budget, Mr. Speaker, if you can see, we have allocated the recruitment or employment of 30 instructors on contract, Mr. Speaker. Another thing, Mr. Speaker, when you see the health department, Mr. Speaker, we have considered also to place those healthcare workers, the medics and non-medics, Mr. Speaker, who have been in contract since 2018, to be on PNB, Mr. Speaker, that is permanent and pensionable terms, Mr. Speaker. These are plus, and these are motivation that will only give the service to our people in the health care, in the health department, Mr. Speaker. According to my need, Mr. Speaker, of my people in Chaikwan, Mr. Speaker, this year, this budget, Mr. Speaker, address also the issue of bursary. And last financial year, Mr. Speaker, we budgeted 168 million. But this year budget, Mr. Speaker, we have raised to 190, Mr. Speaker, meaning that we'll be having a number of beneficiaries. We'll adjust the number of beneficiaries from 45,000 even to 50,000, Mr. Speaker. This one will address the needs of the needy student, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on the revenue, we also budgeted for employing the young and energetic people to run up and down to see how we can improve the revenue sources, Mr. Speaker. This one also will address the issue that we have been talking about of the wage bill, Mr. Speaker. If we raise a lot of revenue, Mr. Speaker, this one will cap the issue of the wage bill. Mr. Speaker, I want to support this, and I want to applaud our APO chair for making sure that the turnout, Mr. Speaker, during our sitting, Mr. Speaker, it was 100%, meaning that everyone was looking up to this budget because the needs come from the elected and the members of this county assembly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Honorable Martin, Honorable Anita. And then I'll give to Honorable Martin. Martin, the member of county assembly for Kapkugerwit.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for this opportunity to support this budget. I think I have one or two things, Mr. Speaker, sir, that I would like to highlight since most of the issues have been addressed by my colleagues. And This comes to the issue on the public participation, Mr. Speaker, sir, where we want to appreciate the fact that we were able to do this from the sub-county level. But looking at what is happening currently in this country, Mr. Speaker, sir, whereby we're having a generation called Generation Z, whereby, Mr. Speaker, sir, if we don't have a plan on involving them on some of these issues, Mr. Speaker, sir, apparently it can get out of hand. And some of the issues that we're looking into, especially when we are doing our public participation and even the budgeting, Mr. Speaker, sir, is to ask ourselves as leaders if we have considered or factored in this generation when it comes to our budget. And I think at some point, Mr. Speaker, sir, this was part of our discussion when we were doing our budget, and we asked ourselves, where do we fit in this team, Mr. Speaker, sir? But since from our inception of our planning, we kind of missed out on this group, Mr. Speaker, sir, I think as leaders going forward, this becomes this group also forms part of our budgeting, especially when it comes to some of the projects. When you look at what we have, Mr. Speaker, sir, in terms of all the projects that we're doing as a county, we don't have something that really touches on this group. However, I want to applaud most of the members who've actually allocated specific funding to empower, to go into the line item on empowerment, Mr. Speaker, sir, which as we move forward, Mr. Speaker, sir, this becomes a concern, even as leaders, to put into consideration. Others, Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to appreciate the efforts that went into this document. It took a lot of sacrifice for these members to be able to finalize on time that we had and to be here today. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, sir. I support this.
All right, thank you, the Honorable Anita. The Honorable Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity, and also by extension to the people whom I represent of Kapugere Ward, also to contribute to this budget that has been tabled by the Honorable Chair. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to take a minute or so also to comment on the budget that has been tabled, and make a point that Honorable Speaker, I want to urge that, okay, it's a good budget, and I want to urge that let it be a commitment from the executive side to implement for us to realize the programs that has been put by the honorable members, the committee on budget, and especially that it is at the moment we are facing some challenges economically, and the people of Kericho County will actually appreciate what we are doing and what how we purpose to pass this budget by implementing the programs and the budget that we are passing. I want to make a point, Honorable Speaker, that in this budget we purpose to pass is the additional of the 210 ECD teachers. This will go a long way in improving our education ECD department in our county, and actually it will boost our education, the ECD department. Of concern also, the Honorable Speaker, is our department of the revenue department. I want to urge that they pull up their socks, and because of this, the budget cannot actually be implemented without us meeting the target revenue. I want to say that the executive, those who are tasked in collection of revenue should actually see to that we meet our own source targets for us, for the budget to be implemented. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I want to commend on the Department of Trade and Industrialization, where I'm the chair, and I'm happy that in the last budget they didn't post any of the pending bills, and like what the honorable member has said, I want to confirm that we will, as committee, as chair committee on trade, I want to commit that we will do the oversight and all the programs that has been put by the honorable members, we shall see to that they are implemented. I'm happy that the programs, the members that last time they put on the Department of Trade, save maybe for Kapkatet and Waldai, which of course they are almost at the tail end of completion. I want to commit that. I want to say that all the programs actually were completed. I want to also to promise the honorable member of Ainamol that the programs or the intentions of what actually he wants to do with what he has planned actually will actually be done by us doing the oversight. So, the Honorable Speaker, I stand to support the budget that has been tabled by the Honorable Chair. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you, the Honorable Anthony Ruto, and then I'll give to the Honorable Amos Breed, and then I'll give to the mover of the motion to reply.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, sir, for giving me this chance so as to support this report. In fact, first let me congratulate my able chair and also vice chair, Budget and Appropriation Committee, for the good work that was done. Number two, Honorable Speaker, in fact, there were several issues that I wanted to mention in this report, but it has been articulated appropriately by honorable members that have just contributed to this report. However, I want to mention only a few, and this one is specifically on public participation. Public participation, Honorable Speaker, sir, is a teething problem because public participation, we usually do it in sub-county headquarters. For instance, Kipkelian West. Kipkelian West is a first sub-county, and public participation is usually done in Kipkelian town. That is our headquarters. And when it is done in Kipkelian sub-county, wards like Kunyak, Chilchila, and parts of Kamashan cannot be able to come to Kipkelian sub-county. I support the honorable members that have already suggested that in future public participations should be done in our ward levels. Another thing, Honorable Speaker, sir, when my chair Pachet was reading the report, our wage bill stands at 42%. Contrary to our constitutional requirement of 35. There is some disharmony in our county. We don't know exactly if really our wage bill stands at 42%, because we are crying now every now and then, oh
on shortage of staff. For example, when we were deliberating on budget issues with the CEC Finance, in fact, it was very much categorical on acute shortage of staff in the department. Also, the Department of Education, we have shortage of staff, and across the board. My appeal is that we should do an head count of staff in our county, so that at the end of the day, we can be able to ascertain exactly the number of employees that we have in our county, so that at the end of the day, we can be able to understand exactly where the problem is. The last Honorable Speaker, sir, under strategic intervention, I support the issue, but there's an issue, and this one was the rehabilitation of Kewasco water supply in Bureti. I want to say, Honorable Speaker, sir, we have other areas which were covered by Kewasco. We have Lundiani, Kericho, Kipkelia. I am particular with Kipkelia. Kipkelian town has been doing without water for a long time, and it is under Kewasco. Those areas also should be considered in future, so that they can be able to get water. Kipkelian town is our headquarters. My DCC is going to Victorian River to fetch water. It is very unfortunate. So my April chair, this one skipped my eyes when we're deliberating on the budget. It should not be specific to Bureti. All areas that are covered with Kewasco. Recruitment of instructors. This one also should not go unmentioned. It is a big scope. In fact, most of our vocational training centers have been doing without instructors. And yet, we have appropriated substantial amount of money in terms of infrastructure. So this is a big scope. My chair, education. So with those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, sir, because most of the things have been mentioned by my colleagues, honorable members, let me pick to end there and support the report. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Can we say that the Honorable Anthony Ruta has spoken, but I have seen the hand of my friend, Amos Birid. Allow me to give Amos Birid, and then I give the Honorable Vincent from Litein. I will be unfair if I don't, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this chance you have given me, so that I support the report on budget. I want to congratulate our chairman for budget and his committees for the work they have done. I was standing here to support the report.
Order. Proceed, the Honorable Amos, and you summarize. Proceed.
May I request the Chair for Education to keep silent, allow me to raise my questions and some things which I was supposed to ask. And thank you, Mr. Speaker, once again. And mine and about in my area, I want to congratulate the chairman because he allocated some amount for ECD teachers. In my area, I have so many teachers who have worked for many years, but we want to request those who are concerned to consider them for employment, because somebody can work for 15 years eventually is almost to go to retire. And because we have the money, I want to congratulate those who are concerned, the committee for budget and this committee. We have a lot of money. So because the money is there, I'm requesting those people who have worked for many years to be considered. And another question, somebody, honorable member, who is the chair for trade, he has mentioned something about Kapkatet. He was saying that everything is almost to be completed. Since I came to this assembly, I have been complaining about the market. Nothing has been done in Kapkatet, especially where those people are selling animals, the sale yard. I want to request for support, because if I am allocating some money without any development, which means I am here for nothing, I am not working for the community. I was sent to represent the people. So that is why I am raising. We are complaining about collection of revenue. And Kapkatet, we are not collecting any money, especially in trade. Sale yard, people are selling animals. They are taking their money. They're supposed to pay us. No offense. People are selling animals on the roads. They took their money. And all the time we are complaining about collection of revenue. So I am requesting committee, the chair and his committee, you just assist me in Kapkatet so that we get a lot of revenue, especially sale yard and market. Market, people are working in market. When it is raining time, they are really suffering. So I'm supporting the reports. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the chance.
Thank you, Honorable Amos Birit. The Honorable Chairman Trade, I hope you have noted the comments from the Honorable Amos Birit, notably the allocation of resources towards markets, and he has, of course, mentioned that nothing has been done in Kapkatet since being elected as a member of that county assembly. So please, you can follow it up with the executive. The Honorable Vincent Mheshimiwa kutoka Litei, karibu.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Sitachukua muda mwingi, nataka tukuchukua tu dakika kama 20 kusema ambaye niko naye. Kwanza nataka kushukuru kamati ya bajeti kwa kazi ambaye walifanya, mimi nikiwa mmoja wao. Kwa mara ya kwanza Mheshimiwa Spika, mji wetu wa Litei itawekwa cabros. Itawekwa cabros. Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Spika, endelea Mheshimiwa. Nataka tena kuchukua nafasi hii kushukuru kamati ya bajeti kwa sababu tangu dunia iundwe mji wa Litei imekuwa na changa la kukosefu ya maji. Na unakumbuka Mheshimiwa Spika, yule mtu wa kwanza ambaye alikuwa kiongozi wa Pureti wakati huo, marehemu Ngeno, ndiye mtu wa kwanza kuleta maji katika mji wa Litei na maeneo zingine ya Pureti. Lakini kwa mwaka ambaye tumetenga pesa sahihi, tutakuwa na maji kutoka mto wa jirani mwenzangu Anita ambaye inaitwa Kiptui, ambaye maji itasambazwa sehemu za Litei kule Kusumek na baadhi ya sehemu za Kapkatet. Nataka nishukuru kwa sababu sisi wengine tulikuja katika bunge kwa sababu tulikuwa tumeambia wananchi kwamba sisi tunaenda kuleta maji. Na nashukuru kwa sababu mimi leo ndaenda nyumbani nikisema kwamba maji itakuwa kwa masaa tu machache wakitupea nafasi. So nataka nishukuru mwenyekiti ambaye ni rafiki yangu Albert kwa sababu ya ile bidii ambayo aliweka. kule Nakuru Mheshimiwa Cheriot alisema sisi hata hatukwenda kanisa siku ya Jumapili kwa sababu tulikuwa tunataka yale mambo yote ambayo yalikuwa yamepangwa yatimisike. So nakushukuru ofisi yako Mheshimiwa Speaker na waheshimiwa wenzangu na wafanyi kazi wetu wa assembly yetu ya Kericho kwa sababu ya bidii yao ambayo walifanya. So nataka tu niseme tu napongeza na naomba Mwenyezi Mungu atusaidie huyu mwaka hizo vitu zote ambaye tumepanga yatimisike. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Speaker.
Thank you so much, the Honorable Vincent, Member of County Assembly of Litein, and we only wish you the best as you serve the people of Litein. Continue with that, and I'm happy that you are keeping on with the legacy of the late Professor John Arangono in ensuring that the people of Litein get water. And you have my prayers and support. The Honorable Moses, a minute, and then I give to the mover of your motion, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for giving the great people of Tendano an opportunity to,
next financial year, next fiscal year, that everything that is procured, anything that is utilized in this county assembly should be utilized under the fourth book, so that we'll not be having, or will not be having problems with the fourth book to an extent whereby sometimes these members are suffering because of small issues that will have been solved through the use of fourth book and the use of e-procurement. Then lastly, Mr. Speaker, I will also request members that let's do something on revenue, because if we will achieve revenue as per the advice of the CRA, I'm very sure that our wage bill will go down to even 30%, and that one will give us room to do employment. So I want to challenge you members that next time, let's make sure that issues of revenue is solved so that our wage bill comes down. Otherwise, thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I reply.
All right, thank you, the Honorable Chairman. I now rise to put the question. That this House approves the report of the Budget and Appropriation Committee on Kericho County budget line and program-based estimates for the financial year 2024-2025. Where many as are of contrary opinion say nay, and the ayes have it. Thank you. Honorable members, we have come to conclusion of our morning session, and there being no other order of business, this House stands adjourned until 2:30 p.m.